Hello everyone, my name is Harolda Bryson and I'm a member of the Hunter Museum's African American Advisory Committee. I'm excited to be sharing with you today a work by artist Howardena Pindell. The title of the work is Autobiography, East-West Gardens. Before we get into the work itself, I'd like to share with you a little bit about Miss Pindell's life. Howardena Pindell was born in Philadelphia in 1943. Miss Pindell studied painting at Boston University, where she earned her Bachelor's of Fine Arts in 1965. In 1967, Miss Pindell went on to earn her Master's of Fine Arts from Yale University. After graduating from Yale, Miss Pindell accepted a position at the Museum of Modern Art in the Department of Prints and Illustrated Books. After working at the Museum of Modern Art for 12 years, Miss Pindell left her position at the museum to focus on making and teaching art. In 1979, Miss Pindell began to accept a position at State University of New York, Stony Brook. In that same year, Miss Pindell was involved in a car accident that would have a profound impact on both her personal life and her professional life as an artist. That was a life-altering event for Miss Pindell because in the accident, she suffered brain injuries that caused her to have short-term memory loss. The short-term memory loss caused Miss Pindell to shift the focus of her art, and it became more personal in nature. She began to incorporate political messages, for example, anti-racism and anti-feminism messages. She began to incorporate images of her body, her physical body in her work, and she also began to incorporate images of places that she visited. And that takes us to the work that we will be learning more about today. As I mentioned earlier, the title of this piece is Autobiography, East-West Gardens. And it's important to note that in the years prior to the car accident, Miss Pindell had done quite a bit of traveling around the world. She traveled to places such as Japan, India, Africa, and Europe. It was during her time in Japan in particular and India that had quite an impact on her, thus the part of the title East-West. Now it's helpful to note that this piece is in Miss Pindell's autobiography series, but within that series, I guess you can call it a sub-series that is titled East-West. And what differentiates these pieces is what's in parentheses, and that word in parentheses, in this case gardens, really does highlight the focus of the work. Now, in this particular piece, it's somewhat hard to make out the details of the images, but you've probably noticed that there are quite a bit of gardens depicted in the work. And those are actually, as far as I can tell, meant to replicate or represent Japanese gardens. The Museum of Contemporary Art Chicago actually published the Howardena Pindell Papers, which is a collection of writings by Miss Pindell. And within that collection is a short text titled An American Black Woman Artist in a Japanese Garden. Miss Pindell's reflection on her experiences of racism while extensively traveling in Japan in 1981 and 1982 are the focus of that text. And at the end, she says, quote, "What nourished me and gave me energy was the extraordinary beauty I found in the traditional Japanese way of organizing space, images, and color, and the brief refuge of peace I found in the Japanese gardens resplendent with the change of the seasons." So that's sort of one important thing to note about this piece is that the gardens, or the Japanese gardens, were an important memory that Miss Pindell had of her past. And while it's quite interesting to try to figure out the specific images that are in these pieces, equally as interesting is the technique that Miss Pindell uses to create these autobiography pieces. This piece and several others were actually created by Miss Pindell taking postcards that she collected from her global travels and cutting them into strips. She would then lay them on the collage, spaced out, and use acrylic paint to paint in between the images. And thus it would alternate the photographic images from the postcards with the acrylic paint, integrating fragmented images into layered fans of paint and paper. And again, this is a beautiful example of one such work. During this process, Ms. Pindell would reconfigure images to try to recall flashes of memories. Like I said again, she was suffering from short-term memory loss, and this work was really essentially what Ms. Pindell describes as an attempt for her to try to, quote, unite and heal her fractured brain. Ms. Pindell has described these works as illustrating the, quote, metaphorical processes of destruction and reconstruction. I look forward to exploring that phrase with you more during our BPATH event. I look forward to seeing you then.